What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be breaking down one of my favorite hikes in the Salt Lake Valley area, Lone Peak. If you haven't seen my cinematic and history overview video of this mountain, I highly recommend checking it out. Super awesome video. So yeah, let's dive on in. I started this hike on August 4th, 2021, and I parked right about here at the Orson Smith Park. There's plenty of parking spaces, and there's a bathroom right here that you can use before starting on this long hike, which I highly recommend because this is supposed to be a 16.7 mile hike at about a 10 hours and 45 minutes average round trip. I started at an elevation of 4,700 feet, and we're going to be hiking to a summit elevation of 10,811 feet for a total elevation gain of 6,100 feet. So yeah, you just want to follow these switchbacks all the way up the trail. When you get to this clearing right about here, you're going to want to turn right and follow the signs for the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Just follow this section right here full of more switchbacks. Get used to them. They're going to be pretty present for a good portion of the start of this hike. When you get to this clearing right about here, you're going to want to look for the next sign to follow, the Cherry Canyon Logging Trail. You want to turn right here, and then you'll be officially on the trail to the summit. Fair warning, it's going to get a lot steeper than the previous sections with a lot more switchbacks. There's probably about 50 plus total on this whole hike. One nice thing about this section is you do have a nice view of the city right behind you. And I did start early in the morning, so I even got to see the sunrise come up over the city. So that's pretty awesome. Right about here on this ridgeline, you're going to get an elevation of 7,100 feet. It's a little bit more mellow as you walk along this ridgeline, but it doesn't last for long. So enjoy it while you can. During this section, you're going to start losing sight of the city, and you're going to start coming up and over this hill and walking closer towards this forest section. That's right about here. It's pretty nice. I hit this section around 8:35 in the morning, and the sun was starting to come out, so it's nice having the protection from the sun. I eventually hit these trees at about 2.7 miles into the hike at an elevation of 7,200 feet. This tree section does have a couple parts that are a little overgrown. It's nothing too crazy, but if you want to wear long sleeves and pants through that area, it might make it a little bit more comfortable, but definitely not necessary. Just keep following this trail, and eventually you're going to get to this clearing right about here. It's pretty obvious when you get to it. It's pretty cool and awesome. But this means that you're going to start getting closer to the Outlaw Cabin, which is right about here at an elevation of 8,900 feet. It took me about 6 miles of hiking to get to this super cool checkpoint. I go into the history of this cabin in my other video, so make sure you go check that out. But a quick overview was this cabin was constructed many years ago, and today you can still find many treasures inside, like a bone saw, hammer, frying pan, rusted scissors, propane stove. There's a bunch of tarps. They even have a cabinet that is built into the wall with old propane tanks, a first aid kit, tuna cans, and even a progressive beet pot roast soup can. So basically just a bunch of random stuff that other hikers have left throughout the ages. So it's super cool, and I definitely recommend checking it out. But this cabin is also where I messed up. So as you can see, you kind of go off the Cherry Logging Trail right here to find the cabin. And when I left, I was being dumb and I didn't check my GPS to make sure I was going the right way. So I'm pretty sure what happened was I was following this trail and I ended up on this ridge right here. And when I checked my GPS, I realized that this is the Cherry Canyon Logging Trail that I was supposed to be following. And I'm over here on this ridge. But I don't want to backtrack all that because I could see that there was this trail right here from the top of the ridge. So I figured I could just walk down and follow that trail to the summit. The problem with this plan is I'm pretty sure I ended up on a trail that was shut down a few years ago, because as you can see, there's no name assigned with this trail, and it was not defined at all. I kind of got lost pretty badly. I basically ended up walking between these two trails, adding for some unnecessary steep elevation climbs, extra mileage and steps, and overall a lot of wasted energy. So moral of the story is, if you are ever out hiking and you get off trail, just suck it up and backtrack until you're back on your original trail. You're going to save yourself a lot of energy and time compared to going off trailing. Because as you can see here, my original trail would have been a lot less steep compared to what I now had in store for me going through all this. Eventually, my trail, and I use that word very loosely, eventually merges into Jacob's Ladder Trail up here. But before that, I had to try and navigate my way through a bunch of random cairns from other lost hikers. For those of you who don't know, a cairn is basically a formation of stacked rocks designed to help navigate and point you in the right direction on the trail. But I have a strong feeling that a lot of people get lost in this section and leave cairns to try to help other hikers find their way. The problem with this, though, is that there would be two cairns completely horizontal from each other, meaning that there were multiple trails that you could help navigate this no man's land, but in reality it just made everything a lot more complicated. I could literally be standing next to a cairn checked my GPS, and it would still show I was off trail. Eventually, I somehow managed to navigate my way through this Death Trap Valley and merged into Jacob's Ladder Trail, where I finally saw my first signs of other humans. It's kind of fitting that on Lone Peak, I didn't see any other people for such a long distance. The fact that I did this hike on a Wednesday is probably a factor in that. There was less people. But still, once I could follow other people to help keep me on track, it was a lot easier to navigate this huge boulder field, and we finally made it to Jacob's Ladder here. Now, Jacob's Ladder is a super fun but exhausting vertical scramble up, and it's kind of sketchy, but you have a lot more sketchy stuff to come, so just brace yourself. When you're on top of the ladder, you can see that all the trails finally merged back together here, so I was finally back to where I needed to be. I was way behind schedule, exhausted, and running low on water, but I was back on track. At this point, I couldn't turn around. I was so close to my goal, the summit. I could see in the distance. Right here, there's another big boulder scramble. Nothing like Jacob's Ladder, but it's not well defined. At this point, everything is funneling up to this false summit here. But once you get to the top, it's just a final sketchy push to the summit, climbing over these huge boulders and shimmering over narrow edges where one wrong fall could be fatal. So just be extra careful navigating through this super fun but sketchy ridge. And I finally made it to the summit of Lone Peak at 2:26 in the afternoon at an elevation of 10,811 feet for a total hiking time of 7 hours and 21 minutes up. But I saw the whole journey to head back down ahead of me. Great. Before I decided to go back down, I decided to rest up there for about an hour with the friends I made up there, and I started heading back down at about 3:30ish. I wish I could say my journey on the way down was a lot easier. There's just something about this mountain that makes it super easy to get turned around, even with constantly looking at my GPS, and I think I got lost somewhere in this area again. Basically, I think what happened was I would be following something that looks like a trail or some false cairn and make one wrong turn. A few minutes later, I walked down this huge cliff and checked my GPS and realized I was once again back off track, and I had to walk all the way back up there to get back on track. At this point, I'm running dangerously low on water. I did not want to hike back up anything steep again, and this trail right here seemed a little bit closer and easier to get to. And I know what I said earlier, if you get lost, turn around no matter what, and I still stand by that, because this is the trail that I think was shut down again and I got lost coming up on. And wouldn't you know it, I did get turned around again, who knows where in this section. Eventually, Jacob's Ladder Trail was eventually the easiest thing to get to, and I probably merged onto that trail around this area probably, which I knew overall that Jacob's Ladder was a shorter trail, so I figured that this was going to be my best and quickest way down the mountain with my current lack of water, extreme dehydration situation. But as you can see, this trailhead is going to be all the way over here, and I parked all the way over here. Luckily, I have some friends in this area, and I called them as I was heading back down the mountain to help bring me some emergency water and take me back to my van at the start. Eventually, the trail got super well defined, and it was super slow walk down, being super dehydrated and heat exhausted to the safety of my friends. But eventually I made it to the bottom of Jacob's Ladder at 7:34 at night. But what kind of story would this be if that was it? Unfortunately, the road here was closed, so I had to walk another half mile or more to the nearest public road to where my friend could park. And I eventually officially made it safely off the mountain at 7:50 that night, after 21 miles and a total hiking time of 12 hours and 45 minutes. Overall, this is still one of my favorite summits in the Salt Lake area, offering an amazing challenge, fun scrambles, and some of the best views of the valley. Hopefully this video helps you not get lost like I did when you try to conquer this amazing mountain. And if so, make sure to subscribe so I can help you with your other future adventure needs. I'll see you in the next one. Later.